All right, good morning. So today we're going to be talking about how to find the zeros of a quadratic function when we are not given the set of parentheses like we are here. In order for us to be able to find the zeros for the quadratics, we have to be able to find the zeros when it's already been factored out into its individual pieces, like this one is. So how do we find the zeros of a quadratic function? Well, don't forget, each of these parentheses is a hint as to what our zero is. That first parentheses there, that 2x minus 4, we set that equal to 0, and we can solve for our 0 from there. How do we do that? Well, we solve for x by adding 4, and that equals, or that plus 4 on this side too. That gives me 2x equals 4. We divide by 2, and we get that x is 2. So if we have 2, 0 as our first, our second one is going to be a little bit crazier. Reason I say that is because if we look really closely at this 2x minus 3, when we set that equal to 0 and add 3 to both sides, we get 2x equals 3. When we divide by 2, we notice that, oh, this doesn't divide equally. Our x is going to equal our 3 over 2 that we just solved for. So our other 0 is 3 halves 0. Yes, if x is 0, then the x part of this coordinate is that number, and the y part is that 0, okay? So let's go ahead and move forward on this, and let's show you kind of what we're going to be working with today. We've already done the solving for zeros on this for a week and a half already. Y'all should be able to do this, and if you can't, then you guys need to be practicing that and actually doing the work that you have been assigned in here. All right? Today, our goal is to take our y equals blah squared plus blah squared plus blah and split it up into our two pieces. To split it up into our two sets of parentheses here. Okay, one way that I'm going to show you how to do that is going to be by using X-Man. It's called X-Man just because it's an X and it's a play off of the word X-Men, like for reals. From here, you have to know this. This is not something that's going to be given to you on the star notes, which I'm making you a copy of, okay? You have to have memorized that this is a times c, and that a times c is over b, and that on these sides over here, they are over a. There's going to be a lot of math that you're going to have to do here and be comfy with in order for you to be able to find success. I need y'all to be able to pay attention to what this is, how this works. I'm going to be doing these 4 examples for you, but then you are going to be able to do this for yourself for the worksheets. Like there's no ways around it, okay? So how do we get to that? Well, if I take that same X-Man and that same quadratic and I start to set it up here, X-Man, don't forget that we work off of ABCs. A is my first number here, B is my second number, and C is my third number, right? So when I go to solve this and I go to begin writing this, if I can tell you what my A, my B, and my C are, then we are going to be doing quite a bit better. We're going to be able to start setting this up. So let's do it. A times C, well, up here on my equation up here, my A is that 3. So I start with my 3. Then I multiply by my C. My C here is that negative 12. My B, the thing on the bottom, is negative 5. And on each of these sides, I've got a fraction with that A underneath it. So I've got a 3 and a 3. My goal here is to set up this and start solving it. So 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. That negative 36 is what would get substituted in up here. Something I've seen done is I've seen people who just kind of write the negative 36 beneath it. That way they don't have to draw a whole new x or anything like that, or they'll pre-multiply a times c and write it in there instead. From that negative 36, our goal is to find our factors, okay? By factoring, I mean what numbers multiply together to make negative 36. I got 1 and 36. I've got 2 and 18. I've got 3 and 12. I've got 4 and 9. 5 doesn't work. 6 times 6 is 36. And from there, it's going to start counting backwards again to where it's 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, 9 times 4, so on. So I don't need to worry about that too much. My goal from there is to find two numbers that are going to add together, or in this case, subtract together. And it's subtract because of that negative symbol there, that are going to make negative 5. And when I look at this, I've got my 4 and my 9 here. My 4 and my 9, if I take my 9 and I subtract 4, that's going to give me negative 5. So 9 and then the minus 4, I bring those over here. And then from there, I check to see if I can reduce. 9 over 3 turns into 3 over 1. And then I can start setting this up. Bottom goes in front of x, 1x plus 3, and 3x minus 4. That is going to be my factors for this. For today, you're not going to have an A. This first number is not going to quote unquote exist. It's going to be an invisible 1. Today, your A's are always going to be 1. Starting tomorrow, that is going to change. And your goal is to set up this X-Men and to be able to take apart those factors. From there, it asks us what our zeros are. We do the same thing as before. We set our x plus 3 equal to 0 and our 3x minus 4 equal to 0. And we solve for our zeros from there. So let's go ahead and practice on this one. First and foremost, set up my X-Men. Multiply my A and my C. Once again, I'm going to highlight those. My A, there isn't one, so it's a 1. My C is going to be this 10. 1 times 10 is going to be 10. Good, nice and positive. My B is going to be 7. So my B down here is 7. Yes, on the side, this goes over A, and that goes over A, but don't forget, A is 1, so it's just over 1. And our goal now is to factor apart that 10 into its individual pieces that we can then use to solve for the 7 by figuring out what numbers add together to make 7. 1 times 10 makes 10. 2 times 5 makes 10. 3 doesn't work. 4 doesn't work. 5 doesn't work. 6 doesn't, or 5 works. 6 doesn't work. 7, so on and so forth. Two numbers that I see add together to make 7 are 2 and 5. So I put that 2 here. I put that 5 here. And I go, okay, 1x plus 2 and 1x plus 5. I don't know why I said minus there. I apologize for that. It is plus 5. From there, we solve for our zeros. 1x minus 2, or x plus 2 equals 0. Well, that's just minus 2 on both sides. X is minus 2. So negative 2, 0 is one of them. I do the same thing for this green one over here. X plus 5 equals 0, minus 5 on both sides. X equals negative 5. So negative 5, 0 is my other 0. Those are my two zeros on this quadratic right here. We're going to do it again on the next one. we're going to draw an X. A times C. A, nothing there, it's just 1. C is the last number over here, and that is going to be my minus 20. 1 times negative 20 is negative 20. If you have a negative like that, you know that one of your numbers is going to be positive and one of your numbers is going to be negative. So that means we're going to have some kind of subtraction going on in the middle. We're going to end up finding two numbers that subtract to make negative 1, because there is a 1 in front of that X right there. All right, so we're going to take that 1 and put it on the bottom. Once again, on each of these fractions, they're going to go over our A. So it's going to go over 1 because on this, my A is 1. And I go, okay, let's factor out that negative 20. Negative 20 is 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 doesn't work, 4 and 5, 5 and 4, so on and so forth. Again, I'm trying to find two numbers that are going to subtract to make a negative 1. Okay. 20 minus 1 is 19, and 1 minus 20 is negative 19. 2 minus 10 is negative 8. 10 minus 2 is just 8. 4 minus 5 is negative 1, so 4 minus 5, and that would work. So I take my 4 and my minus 5 here, and I set up bottom X, so 1 in front of my X, plus top, plus 4. And then again in parentheses, 1X, and then the top, the minus 5. Those are going to be what my factors are. I can then solve for my 0. X plus 4 equals 0, minus 4 minus 4. X equals negative 4, so my 0 is negative 4, 0. That's one of my zeros. The other 0 is X minus 5 equals 0. You're probably going to start seeing a pattern about this real quick, and that's how it's supposed to be, because today there is just a pattern on this that we're going to be able to follow to find these zeros, to where since X is always going to have that 1 in front of it today, it works nicely like that. It is not going to work nicely like that again on Wednesday, okay? We've still got 2 more questions to do, and now it starts getting just a little bit crazier. X squared plus 11x plus 30. Okay, I draw my X, once again, ABC. I look at my A, nothing there. B is going to be that 30. 1 times 30 is just 30, so I give myself a 30 here. And then I've got on the bottom 11, and I put 11 down here. Notice how I'm not putting the X next to these, because it's not about the X, it's about the coefficients, the numbers in front of them. Once again, I put these over 1 because A is 1. Now, why am I having you do that when it's always 1 today? To get you in the habit of doing it for when A is 2 or 3 or something like that. You saw earlier where I had to reduce it. When that shows up, that reduction really does help, okay? So let's go ahead and get started on this. Let's factor out that 30. 30 is 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 doesn't work, 5 and the 6 work, 6 and 5, and then we're just going backwards. Since it's a plus sign, they're either both positive or both negative. And so in this case, since this is still a plus sign, I know that both numbers are positive. 5 plus 6 makes 11. So when I go, oh, here's a 5 positive, here's a 6 positive, bottom X, 1X. And then the top, X plus 5 is one of them. And then the other one again, 1X plus 6, because that positive 6 is my second one. Okay, from there, I am going to do my X plus 5 equals 0, minus 5 on both sides. X is negative 5, so negative 5, 0 is going to be my first 0. Again, X plus 6, minus 6 on both sides. X is negative 6. And so then negative 6, 0 is going to be my other 0. There are some times that might change. Like, for example, if this symbol right here, instead of a plus sign, had been a negative instead, then it would have been two numbers that would subtract to make negative 11. When that happens, then these would have been negatives in that case. So do be careful about that, because again, that minus there is a hint that your factors, when you factor them out like that, are going to be negatives. Last but not least, x squared minus 25. Don't forget, on this, your equation you're looking for is ax squared plus bx plus c. In this case, I don't have bx there. There's literally nothing there. So when I go to rewrite this, x squared plus bx, there is no bx. There's a 0 x's there. And then that minus 25 at the end, we can still factor this out. And we can solve for our zeros. Pretty easy. Sorry about that. Looking at these numbers right here, I've still got the A, the B, and the C with this. All right. I'm still going to start with my X-men. And when I look at this, I have x squared plus 0x minus 25. It's x squared times negative 25. So I have a negative 25 here. I've also got a 0 on the bottom. And so I'm looking for factors that are going to subtract. Why subtract? Because this is a negative symbol. That means one number is positive, one number is negative, which means some kind of subtraction is going to be going on here. And I'm looking for factors that give me 0 when I subtract them. 25 is a nice, easy number to work with, because out of 25, you've only got 1 and 25 and 5 and 5. So if I've got 5, 5, and 1 and 25, if we're going to subtract them to find 0, 5 minus 5 is 0, and that's interesting. So I've got 5 over the A, which is 1, and I got another 5 over the A, which is 1. But don't forget, one of those is negative, one of those is positive. It doesn't matter which one it is. Truly, it doesn't matter which one it is. Because when you go to factor it, you get x minus 5 and, oh, that's terrible, 5. And then you get x plus 5. And the order of those doesn't matter. 5 minus 5 is 0, so I have 5, 0, and then negative 5, 0 as my other one. And those are my two zeros in this case. Negative 5, 0, and 5, 0. When you're looking at these ones today came out to whole numbers, but again, when you look at the ones from earlier, when we had the 3x plus 4 equals 0, where it came out to be a decimal, you are going to have problems where it does actually give you not a whole number. And so you do need to be able to complete this. I'm going to have you go ahead and start your worksheets.